The number of people forcefully displaced has continued to rise over the last 10 years and is now reaching 80 million. To make matters even worse, the COVID-19 pandemic has sparked a crisis of global magnitude, and infodemic, a word coined by the WHO, has become a buzzword. These culminating crises have further aggravated the refugee situation. In 2020, more than ever, reliable, unbiased information can save lives. Well, I'm supposed to hear from
Hello.
my com. Yeah, there she
Yes,
is,
I am
Wanjiku.
here. Hello and welcome to the fourth day of the DW Academy's first virtual conference on communication, engagement, and accountability in crisis. My name is Wanjiko Mwaura.
And I am Eddie Micah Jr. Now, we're your hosts for this week. Myself and Wanjiku would also be with you next week. Now, the thing is, because of increased security measures due to COVID-19, we're in a different studio, just like we were yesterday. I'm here, Wanjiku is operating all the way from home. So you already realized a bit of a technical glitch there. It's normal, it's digital, so we'll find a way around that, right, Wanjiku?
That's true. Unlike the director of media development, Natasha Schranker, said on Monday, we can manage the situation, of course, but we can't control it. However, there's something that we can control, and that's today's agenda. We'll be talking about women's leadership in crisis communication. I think this is a very exciting topic for me and for you as well, Eddie.
Yeah, definitely for me as well. You know what I just figured out? I have this white earpiece with me. Everyone can see that. You also have the black one. No, it's the time's call for this one, Jiku. We're gonna make it work out. But hey, guys, this session
Okay.
will feature two organizations, each presenting their experience in the field. After the two sessions, we'll need you to get interactive because that is very key part of the sessions that we've been having. Please make use of the conference app and post your questions in the Q&A session.
So our first presenter is Patience Landford. She's Liberia's Action Aid Head of Programs, and she will be speaking about the COVID-19 response in Liberia, but will focus around women's leadership.
You know, I don't know if you heard this one, Jiku. They say women make the world go round. So I'm really excited about how today is going to
Of
go.
course, I've had this.
Yeah.
Yes, it is exciting.
Yeah, I'm sure you and I will talk about that for 2 hours. But guys, Action Aid and partners support women leaders to strengthen their resilience and self-reliance. They also empower them to realize their rights, meaningfully engage in decision making, and hold duty bearers to account. Now, patience, take it over from here. If Patience can hear us, now the floor is yours to moderate your session.
So
And
we are still waiting to have Patience
mhm,
properly on the line. But as she comes up, Eddie, I have a question for you.
okay,
When you hear any discussion about women's role in leadership role in communication, what comes to your mind? What is it that you expect to hear from Patience?
that's a good question, Wanjiku. The thing is, at first, I was thinking, why is there the need to highlight women leadership, right? Simply, there's leadership. Men can be leaders, women can be leaders. So there must be something key. And I think maybe that's because women are pretty good leaders. If you put them in charge of things, it can be managed pretty well. I'm probably also saying this because of my mom and three sisters. I'm the only boy in the family, so I kind of have no choice but to back the ladies. But I'm really looking forward to hear some key information. Let's try again. If Patience Landford, Action Aid International, can you hear us now, Patience? Patience can still not hear us. So we're going to try. I'm keeping in touch with the production team to hear whenever we have patience. Patience will set the ball rolling. But Wanjiku, back to your question. I've always wondered: should it even be talked about? Shouldn't we just talk about leadership? Why the need per se to highlight women leadership?
From our perspective, I think both men and women offer different a different bouquet, so to speak, when it comes to leadership. And unless we acknowledge these differences that make the whole picture whole, we would then undermine certain contributions both from men and women. And therefore, I think it's important to highlight, especially what women are doing right, how they are learning from the challenges they face when it comes to our topic today, communication in crisis regions. I think it's quite important. And as we know, when it comes to crisis as well, it's the children, young people, and women who unfortunately tend to suffer the most.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I hate to say it. They say it's a man's world, but that should not be the case. It should be humanity's world, human beings' world. We should not even be looking at cases of sexes and letting one sex or one group of people or one color of people or one ethnic group benefit more than the other. I think that the division in the world is what people like you and I and everyone else should come on board to fight because we're all one, aren't we?
Totally. And Eddie, when we're talking about the country where patience comes from, that is Liberia, this is a country that has or is coming out of a history that many of us know. They have suffered the war with child soldiers, children soldiers as well. And therefore, when you see the gaps that are there or that could be created by this new population, so to speak, then it is really very important to highlight what is everyone else doing in the society, but particularly what are the women who have been left by their sons, their husbands, their fathers doing to communicate in such a situation. I think there are lots of lessons to be learned from patients. I'm really looking forward to hearing from her for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I believe the production team is still working hard to get patients. The thing is, we have two sessions today, right? Wanjiku, we're going to be going later to a Tribal News Network, representatives from Tribal News Network, to hear also what they have for us. But before that, we're
No,
still
no,
trying
it's
to
okay.
get patients. Excuse me. And I believe once we have her, we will get into action. But
Yeah,
if we
yeah,
don't, then we would
sure.
also see how to get already to the Tribal News Network. But what Manjiku, I think one of the main
Yeah,
challenges
sure. Why
is
not?
that many people expect that why are or I should rather put it this way, Wanjiku. If you look all around the world, when you talk about leadership, it's mostly men in there, and not necessarily a problem per se. But why do you think that's the case? It's not like women are not given the chance to hold these positions, or is it?
Yes and no, because we know women face a different set of challenges when it comes to running for political offices. They go through underhanded tactics from their competitors, where either their safety is threatened or their family is threatened, as well as just being sabotaged with the ideas that they want to bring on the table. And like you said, there is leadership mostly. We see men, unfortunately. It
Yeah.
could be different, yes. However, however, by acknowledging the challenges that women are going through to get into political office, then we would be able to have a better conversation on why men are the ones who get elected to office. Is it because the politics they play is so dirty that women have no chance? And why are many societies set up in such a way?
I mean, the key thing is there's a lot of great women leaders around the world. We are talking to others right here from Germany, and Angela Merkel has been in power. She's in her fourth term now, a long-standing leader who's done a fantastic job, at least in my opinion, to really bring the country together and serve highly on the global stage. So it's really not even. I don't even like to get into the discussion about men are better than women or women are better than leaders. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's individuals, good individuals who can do the work.
And we have different examples. Angela Merkel, the German chancellor, is one, but we have also Iceland's history of electing female presidents or female leaders. We have New Zealand. We have countless of countries, including Pakistan, that have had female leaders or women leaders who are driving the agenda of the country and driving the country to success. So I agree with you totally. It's not that women can do better or men can do better. It's not about the sexes necessarily, but an individual and the policies they have for the people of those countries. So I mean, it is election year in many parts of the continent, in Africa, I mean, but also across the world. We know we're looking ahead at the US elections as well. And when you observe how the politics are playing out, then it is more clear that it is about individuals more than just the sexes or the genders in this case.
Yeah. Now, for those of you who are watching us via the app or via YouTube, this is not exactly how things are supposed to be going. It's not like Wanjiku and I are leading a session here. We're just holding the fort because we're waiting for Patience Lanford from the Action Aid International, who's going to be talking about...
Unfortunately, Eddie, we can't reach Patience at the moment. Therefore, we are taking a trip all the way to Pakistan. Great. Because our next three guests are working for the Tribal News Network, a multimedia platform providing local and relevant news, mainly ignored by mainstream media, to the audience in the northwest of Pakistan. Saeed Nazir is the director and co-founder.
District and the Waziristan region in Pakistan. Now, both women were internally displaced before becoming voices of their communities. Now, it's great to have them here with us, so please don't miss out on this opportunity to ask them questions. Saeed, if you can hear me, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the short introduction. I'm Said Nazir Afridi from the Tribal News Network. Are you hearing me? Yeah, so I'm the co-founder and executive director of Tribal News Network, based in Pakistan, Northwest Peshawar city. So just to give you a bit background of why it came into existence, the Tribal News Network, because the region that we live here was in conflict, and there was an issue of access to information. So we established Tribal News Network in 2013. I'm also a displaced journalist from the Khyber district of former tribal area bordering Afghanistan because of the conflict. So I was very much concerned about the issues of those communities, which are we call marginalized communities, the IDPs. So we started extensive reporting on their issues, their basic needs, from education to health, from water to sanitation, and all these issues, which were missing from the mainstream media because they were just like focused on bomb blasts, terrorism, Talibanization, and all those issues. So our objective was a bit different because we want to empower local communities with information and news. So we are operating with more than like 35 reporters and 40 citizen journalists and a network of 8 radio stations in Pak-Afghan border region. So as we were focused on the issues of IDP, the one problem that we faced, and I realized in 2016-17, that we are missing the voices of women, because in Pashtun area, these regions are populated by Pashtun, which are basically conservative, and they don't allow their women to be seen in public or to get role as a public figure. So for TNN, it was quite a big challenge that how we can reach to women population, and particularly in IDPs communities. So with the support of DW Akademie in 2017, we designed a project that why not we should bring youth and particularly women from those communities that become voice of those marginalized and IDPs, and they should reflect their voices. So as a result, we trained 87 youth from those tribal areas affected by conflict and which has seen huge displacement at the time. So we recruited and we trained uh, uh, female journalists as well as male youth male, and the result was fascinating because this gave us like access to the untapped women population in those border regions and this traditional society and a very conservative setup where it was so difficult for men to interview women and highlight their issues. So out of 87 87 citizen journalists, we trained 40 women. And it was amazing, not only and surprising for many of us because we didn't expect a large number of women participation in those trainings, the citizen journalism training. So when we were recruiting those female, so it was quite difficult to reach out to them and spread the word of the capacity building for them. So what we did, we publicized the opportunity on social media, and we also like talked to friends, relatives, and the strategy was quite successful, and we got a good number of female. And then after training them, it was not just training, but it was a mentoring afterward. It was like a motivation. It was like uh, encouraging them to do stories and while keeping in mind the challenges in the region, because it is a new role for the women in Pashtun areas. So it was quite successful. And what the challenges the challenges that we faced during the process was that some of the female journalists, some of the women, they committed to come to the training, they didn't show up because at the end of at the meantime their family member, they didn't allow them to take part and become a journalist. And it was also a problem to reach out to maximum IDPs and tribal population, not and inside FATA and outside who were displaced. But yeah, finally we were quite successful, and uh, as a result, you see that the we had like contents on women, we had a connection with them, and now we are also like to build on this experience. It was kind of crisis time, but now we are also thinking of like extending this experience to other districts in the region. Like the KP province, if you take it, it has 35 districts. It has around 50 million population, but hardly there are women reporters in 2 or 3 districts and those 35, I mean female reporters. But with this project, now we have like more than 10 districts, we have at least a single female reporter. And from the tribal areas, it is unbelievable because we had female reporters from those regions which are quite infamous for the fighting, for conflict, and for the conservative thinking and stereotyping. And now these reporters for TNN, we have inclusive reporting. We have seen so many stories that have impact afterward. Like if these female reporters have covered a story on the uh, on a damaged school for women, for girls, and Waziristan, Bajawad, Khyber district, and those border regions. So we have seen that the government has taken action, or the community has done something to improve the situation. So now I'm very proud to say that we are a leading organization in the region that is promoting women in the media, not only as a consumer, but also as producers. Building on this experience, now we are going to train uh, female journalists for our newly established radio station in Mardan, which has 2.3 million population, that we can bring more voices, women voices, and we can attract more women audience. So it is not only important for their empowerment, but also it can uh, bring TNN sustainability in terms of selling those new audience to the market. So this is it has a twofold benefits: the social impact and the commercial benefits for TNN to become sustainable. So I'm not going to take more of your time, but that I would say that uh, without women in media, and especially in this region, I think we ignore 50% of our population, and we cannot ensure the protection of human rights if they are not involved in media as active consumer and producers. So their participation and communication is quite important, and especially in times of crisis. Uh, because you see that in crisis, communication and information become a fundamental rights like water, shelter, and food. So without involving women and Pashtun areas, so you cannot address the issues of a larger population. So now we have women population wise, we want to strengthen them, we want to expand them, and today I'm lucky that I'm being joined by two the female reporters that we trained, we mentored, yeah, and now they are not working with TNN, but they've become voice of their communities and tribal areas, especially women, and they're special women, but they are also contributing to international media, and now they are becoming permanent journalists from citizen journalism, journalism training. So it's quite a big achievement, and I'm proud of these two brave ladies who do day to day cover important issues that are not reported by local media, and they bring the unique women voices behind the burqa, behind the shuttlecock. So they have a good access, and this is the bridge between media and those affected communities. These two brave girls. There are several other girls, but these two are quite active, and now they can claim to be a journalist. So I think this is the short introduction and background that I give you, and I don't want to get more of your time. So I would like to invite Razia, but before that, we are going to watch her video that how she works in the Waziristan tribal region and talking to male and women and highlighting their issues. And afterwards, she would introduce and she would share her experiences with us. Thank you.
Emunum Razia Mehsud day was a South Waziristan na first female journalist ya. South Waziristan شي چې کله همیش IDPs همیش ډېرې مسلې ډېرې ایشوز سره مخامخ شولي په دغه شي فیمیل ایجوکیشن دی چې ورته سکولي نشته خو فنکشنل نه دي ټیچرونه سکول ته نه رودري ډیوټي نه کوي داسې میش کا د هسپتالي خبره وکي هسپتالي نشته دی خو فنکشنل نه دي خلک ته هیلث ریلیټډ ډېرې زیاتې ایشوز دي ډېر زیاتې مسایل دي داسې میش کا فیمیل چې کوم ایشوز دي په باندې خبره وکي فیمیلز ډېرې زیاتې مسلې ډېرې زیاتې مسایل سره مخامخ شوي دي انفراستراکچر ورته مکمل تباه دی روډینا خراب دي روډي حالات ډیر زیاتای خاروب ته خلک ته ډیر زیاتای مشکلات دي فیمیل چې کیمې دي هغه اوز نشي اورېدل
Hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I am Razia Mehsud from South Waziristan. As the entire world is known that Waziristan has been through what types of circumstances and how people migrated from there during military operations and faced huge problems. South Waziristan has been the hardest among tribal areas. Since I am from the same area, therefore I observed that the basic problems over there were not highlighted on media. Only terrorism was the topic of the day. Since I myself migrated from there during military operations, I observed and faced different problems. The problems of the male section were highlighted due to the presence of male journalists, but there was no voices for women problems, so the woman was the oppressed. She lagged behind in education. There is no one to raise a voice for them. They have health issues. Women is deprived of her basic rights in depressed rights, her basic rights. In nutshell, problems are many. She always thought that who would give tongue to her problems. I did not have a platform to speak for her. Finally, with the grace of Almighty Allah, I had the chance to participate in a training session of Tribal News Network by DW Germany by the name of Citizen Journalism. I got the platform after the training. Thanks God, I brought forward many problems and got the honor to be the first female journalist from South Waziristan. There are countless challenges being a reporter, among which many tackled and many yet to be gone through about all the society where women is deprived of basic facilities, where women cannot step at, where women education is detested, where educational institutes are treated as a guest houses. So in such type of society, joining media by a woman was not an easy thing to do. In the beginning, I was criticized. I was threatened. My family was pressurized. It was said that women of Waziristan cannot come on media. You should stay at home. Campaign was started against me. I was threatened. Slowly and gradually, my work was seen by the people, and the people started not criticizing me. And those who would criticize me, they started feeling proud for me. And the most important was that it was a thing because of which people would like my work, was that I was honest and I highlighted the problems which were not highlighted before. Whenever you start work, the very first thing is the very first problem start with your own house. But with the passage of time, those problems are overcome. Same was the overcome. Same was the case with the community. The community started to make lots of problems for me, but I studied many successful people and their lives, and I came to know that they were successful after facing those problems courageously, and you cannot reach your destination without problems, without hard work. In my family, my parents and my husband supported me always, and because of their support, I am here today. My husband Kamran should always stand with me in every difficult situation. And if his support was not there, I would not be able to do anything. There are so many problems in our area, but the problems which are faced by women was about lack of education and non-functional hospitals. There are no emergency facilitations and death during childbirth, death of newborn babies, water problems, electricity, and employment. Electricity is not there. There is no employment. There is no center for handcrafts, so that females may learn craft. The mobile phone service are not there. Internet are not there. School are non-functional, and many other problems that women are faced. Women empowerment is also the greatest need of that area.
Wow.
There is a great need of presence of a female reporter in our area, because if there are many female reporters, the problem will be highlighted in a better way and people will be more aware, and this is all possible because of education. And if female have more opportunities for better education, they will be able to provide female with different specialties in different area. If you are facing any kind of challenge, you will be able how to deal with them. Our area, South Waziristan, is very dangerous. Anything could happen to many times.
Yeah.
My
Wow.
hello. My story are published on TNN, Dan English newspaper, Independent Urdu. There is a great impact since when I came forward. Different issues were highlighted by me, and I have worked in a much better way. Okay, thank you.
Well,
So, thank
Oh, hello
so,
everyone. Should I start my? Okay.
as we move on, we just saw first of all the video, and now we heard from Razia Mehsud doing her presentation, telling us the challenges in that area and how to rise above all of those challenges. These are all work with a Tribal News Network. Now we have another presentation by Mamarha Afridi. Mamarha Afridi, if you can hear me, please go on.
I think we are also having a bit of a technical challenge there. But I just want to quickly go back to what Razia has talked about. And for me, Razia, what I have picked many things, but one thing that has stood out for me is that you have said that you cannot reach your destination without problems. And listening to the challenges that you've gone through so far, the criticism, the threats to your life, your family being criticized, just it's an honor to have you, and thank you so much for coming on to share your story with us.
Yep, thank you for that. Do I have to? Okay, I'm now getting the go ahead. We do have, or do we? Mamarha Afridi, can you hear me?
Yeah. And hello everyone. My name is Mamarha Afridi, and I'm working with TNN as a citizen journalist, and also with few national and international organization as a freelance journalist. So it's a big achievement for me that I'm doing. From a citizen journalist now I'm a way to be a pro journalist. First of all, thank you so much for making me the part of such important discussions, which are usually not, discussed on such platform. And hope you all are doing well. I will start my screen sharing with you. Okay. I hope you can see my screen. Is it visible?
We're still trying to pick it up. The technical team is working on things to make sure we can see it. But please go ahead. We'll show it when we. Okay, now we see it.
Okay. the topic, the session, my session is about women leadership during crisis. Of course, this topic is so near to me as I'm a displaced student too. In 2011, my school was blown up, and I was displaced since 2011. And this is not the story of only Mamarha Afridi, but the story of every single tribal student who were displaced due to the crisis, due to the war on terror. This is the main reason why I joined journalism, because I feel the need that besides that we are the victim of war on terror, we were facing everything, we were displaced, we are displaced, and still the national media was not talking about our miseries. They were not giving the positive image to the world that what kind of people we are actually the peaceful people, and we want peace, and we are facing so many problems, but they were not giving any kind of coverage to us. So I feel a need that being a tribal girl, I should train myself. And okay, and okay, so
Mamarha, we could hear you.
okay, yeah, is it visible now? Hello.
Hello, I can hear you. I'm not seeing it on the screen. I'm not sure if what I'm seeing now is exactly what is live out there, but I don't see the presentation. But I think the team is working on it to pick it up. So you can go ahead with your talking.
Okay, is am I visible now? Am I visible?
You are visible, yes.
Okay, so actually, it was a need that I should come and join the journalism, the platform of journalism. So before my, starting my session, I will try to brief you about IDPs, internally displaced people. Actually, internally displaced people are the people who are forced to, to leave their houses, their area, but not the country. They have usually the same problem what a refugee family faces, but with the addition of no recognition of any kind of protection under international law. And I will be also talking about the role of the government. Actually, the role of the government regarding IDPs was not so positive. The government, at least Pakistan, tried to hide their miseries as they think that it will bring a bad image to the country. So instead, to talk about their miseries, to highlight their issue and solve it, and using the platform of journalism, they try to cash the situation and asking from the firms from the West and from the UN without any accountability mechanism. So it's give them a free hand. So it's give them a free hand prolonging as a milking cow for them. And of course, the situation of IDPs in Pakistan is so worse. They are facing economical crisis. Their financial situation is so worse because their houses are blown up, their business are blown up. On the war due to war on terror, they lost everything. They are facing a huge financial crisis. They are and the most important thing, they are facing a psychological problem even, and we don't even talk about them, but they are facing a lot of psychological problem. Just imagine yourself as your home is blown up, as your school is blown up, everything, the source of income you have, you don't have, and everything is blown up. You have to leave your home, and then stay in the tents, and you don't know about the tomorrow will be having something to eat or not. So it was a worse situation of IDPs in Pakistan, and the government is not playing a positive role in settling the IDPs. Um, if we talk about the media coverage, of course, the root of my session is a media blackout. At the first, the government was not allowing any single journalist to do any kind of coverage regarding IDPs, and they were giving all the news that we were, having. They were totally the militant or the military perspective. What was what is going actually inside the tribal area. No journalist was allowed to go and to investigate and to make to give coverage. Over the passage of time, they give the government was giving a bite freedom to a very little freedom to journalists to cover the IDP's issues, but the perspective that we were having as of IDPs, that were totally male perspective. We were missing a very huge population perspective that was female, and of course, I'm really, really thankful to Tribal News Network. Tribal News Network is playing a very, very great role in empowering the female journalists and empowering the journalists in the tribal area, which is the epicenter of war on terror. Even the journalists are not allowed to do any kind of coverage. So they are. I will appreciate Tribal News Network at every platform that they are doing a very well and a great job in empowering the journalists. See that I'm a female journalist, and they train me. And of course, we have we have the problem of lack of resources. So they train us how we can use a mobile phone to make reports, to make video, a very worthy video reports, even a text story. Even I'm doing this meeting through the phone. So you can't imagine, but a phone can even empower you if you are trained how to use it. So with the passage of time, we come across few female perspective news from the IDPs just because of TNN, because the TNN was introducing female journalists, and they were training the tribal female journalist in the field of journalists. So it was a very positive thing. Yeah, I'm just okay. It was a positive thing, and I would appreciate at every platform the Tribal News Network effort. And of course, I will also talk about the power of being a female tribal journalist. As I talk about that, the female were not allowed to, we don't have the female perspective news. But when when the government gave the some freedom to journalists, that now you can cover a few, like they give the selective topic. Yeah, you can just you can cover this kind of topic, but you can't touch this. We still have much to report, but we don't have freedom of expression, and journalists don't have freedom of expression. We still don't have the freedom of expression to express or do reporting on such topics. But we are just thankful to the limited freedom. But the female were not allowed to talk to a male journalist because we are living in a patriarchal society. If we talk about Pakistan, and then especially the tribal area, where the we know that everywhere we have the patriarchy everywhere, but the ratio is different. And in tribal area, you will see a huge ratio of patriarchy, just because the state is playing a role to strengthen patriarchy and to make the patriarchy deep rooted in tribal area. They are we face a lot of problems, such as the state is government is trying to make us they are keeping us backward. They have banned the government is making they are keeping us backward. They have banned internet service in tribal area, because the education because we know that we can be educated through school, and every school was blown up. At the time, our youth were getting education and knowledge and other things through the social media and internet, and unfortunately the government banned internet service over there. So you can see how the government is playing role to keep the tribal area more backward. But we should be thankful to organizations such as TNN that are fighting for the right of journalists, and also tribal area, and giving us platform to highlight the issues. So then with introducing female journalists, it's a power for me to be a female journalist. I have the opportunity to interview both a male and a female. I feel empowered. I think if every female, a tribal female, are trained in a specific field, they are empowered. Why the female were not able, the tribal female are facing problem of patriarchy, that they are not allowed to talk to male journalists or give any perspective to male journalists. But it's so easy for me to get any kind of story. I can do any kind of story, but still we have some, as I mentioned, that we have still some limitation in freedom of expression, that no, you don't have to highlight this. No, if we highlight such kind of issue, then we can even face death threats. We are just, working in the space which are given. So it's a power for me to, whenever I come to Peshawar or Islamabad or meet some international journalists, they say that how it's possible that being a tribal girl, you are doing your journalism and you still want to continue them. So I thought that it's not the problem that I'm a female, it's the problem that we are journalists. Every journalist faces problems. It's not just because of me that I'm a female, but every journalist in tribal area, they face problem. We are living in a conflict zone, so still we have some restriction from the state. So being a female journalist is a power for me. I have access to both male and female, and it's a very, very easy for me to do my reporting.
Okay.
So yeah, thank you.
Wow.
Glad present.
Thank you so much, Mamarha, Saeed, Razia, for that passionate and insightful discussion. As you were talking, we've received countless of messages for you. Well, they're countful for now, but I think more and more questions will keep streaming in. So please stay on the line because we will be asking that for you. Now, before we go to the answers, something that Mamarha, I find very strong that you have said. One of the things is how the problems you're facing are not just because you are female, but because you are a journalist. So you're also acknowledging the challenges for journalists working in these particular areas that you have been presenting about. Eddie, what is your takeaway so far before we quickly go to the questions?
I think we have very similar takeaways, Wanjiku. There's one thing being a woman in such an area which is already quite depressing, and your freedoms and everything are stamped upon. Plus, you're a journalist, so a woman journalist is suffering even more than ordinary ones. And I think it's rather unfortunate. That is why it's good to have such a platform to air such views about how things should ideally be. Well, Anjiku, you're right. Let's go straight to questions because it's not really about us asking questions. Let's go to what some are talking about. A question from Muti, who I remember yesterday also asked a question, says, at Razia, this is to Razia, what advice do you have for female journalists who confront sexism and backlash from both the culture and their own families? This is a question to you, Razia. Or anyone else that can pick it up. Either Razia or Mamarha or even Saeed.
Can you please repeat your question?
So the question is from Muti. It says, what advice do you have for female journalists who confront sexism and backlash from both the culture and their own families?
If I heard it properly, it's regarding what kind of problem we are facing regarding sexism as a journalist.
Yeah, it's talking about the advice you have. What advice do you have for female journalists who are, confronting issues like sexism and getting the backlash from the communities and their families?
Actually, at the first, it was a challenging thing for us to just imagine it is it is a 20th 22nd century, and we are the first journalist, me and the Razia, the first journalists of our tribal area. So just imagine how backward we are. And I always talk, we are not backward, we are kept backward. So it was a challenging thing that of course we at first when we joined journalism, it was about everybody was criticizing that, but as Razia mentioned that with the passage of time it become normal. So we can make everything like we can counter sexism and the gender-based, gender-based violence and other discrimination which are made on gender-based by making it's normal that if the female and men can work equally if they are trained and if they are giving the equal opportunity as the TNN give us and they train us. And now we can see that now we see that a huge ratio that we don't face gender discrimination now. We are facing, but it is so little than what we were facing in
Okay.
the past.
So the advice there is more and more women should get on board so that it's normal to have women journalists. We also have another question here from Saeed Nazir, who asks, how can you convince women to join journalism, considering the challenges they have both in family and society?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but your voice echo.
I can repeat my question again. We have a question from Saeed Nazir, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, you are quite louder, but yeah, I got it.
So you got my question. How do you convince women to join journalism?
I think it's quite difficult in beginning, but there is we have like women leadership in newsroom. So first, for male, it's difficult to talk to consciously to your female reporters. There are chances of harassment. But if you have like women leadership in your newsroom and they like emerge as a role model for other females, so 50% convincing is done. And then there is like personal motivation of the personality. They don't have direction how to serve their communities. But when they see the power of journalism and the importance of journalism, because they are cut off from the mainstream. But when they see and realize during the training and afterward in the mentoring program that we provide mentoring to them, so they realize that this is a big power, and it would not only empower them but their communities. And on top of it, there are still challenges, but if you don't have a supportive families like Mamarha has a great father, and the same goes for the Razia, who has like a great husband who always support them. I think it minimize their risks, challenges, and it's quite encouraging for them to continue their work.
Yeah, and I will add a point that if we can empower a female in two kind. If we can empower them through education, we can empower them through economic. If they are economically stable, they are empowered. These two things can make a female empower. So we know that we in tribal area every institution of education institution was blown up. So the education ratio is so low. So we can train them by training female and making them empower economically can lead to more participation of female in the field of journalism, because we know that if a female is empowered economically, she don't have to ask for the money, or if she want to live a separate in a separate way through her professional life. So by empowering them economically and financially, and making them how to be economically empowered, so it can empower a female in the field of journalism too.
I just want to clarify that that question was asked by Mafia Mukhtar. Eddie, we also have another question.
We do have another question. This is to Razia, but again, I guess anyone can hop on that. The question is, how do female journalists work with media houses in such critical conditions?
Razia, I think Razia is not here, but if she doesn't
come,
okay.
You can answer it if you can.
Okay, so sorry, but if you can repeat the question, that how as
female journalists. Yeah, exactly. The question is, how do female, because they've heard you and you've talked about how with all due respect, how crazy the situation is. So it's almost impossible to think that it is actually possible to be a female journalist. So they're saying that how do female journalists work with media houses in such critical conditions?
Oh, yeah. Of course, this is a very challenging situation. Even we have, the war on terror is not now, but still we have the impacts of that. We have the displaced people, we have the displaced journalists and students like us. So, working as a female journalist is a big challenge for us. But as even Razia, talk about in her presentation that at first she was criticized by her family, by her area. Same was the case with us. But when the people recognize that we are highlighting their issue, we are solving their issue, and many of issue are solved because of our reporting. With the help of TNN, we do reporting over there, and most with the TNN, and even we highlighted the issue on international media. So it was international media, so it was a challenging as at the first. But with the passage of time, when the local world recognizes that, yeah, they are working for us, it's a leadership, female leadership, and they are making our voice in the critical time, so they start to appreciating us. If now we are being respected at every, even if I go to a family with no education, the member, if the family don't have any member of educated, but still they respect me because they know that she's a female journalist and she's working on solving issue for us. And also one of my future goal is to work on the issue which are not which are not on which work are not done, such as honor killing, the female perspective issues, that is honor killing and domestic violence, which even they don't consider to be a topic to discuss. And successfully I have done much story on it, and try to highlight every issue, every talk about everything that are not covered before, but using the
Okay.
journalism platform.
Okay. Anjiku?
Yes, thank you so much for going deeper into that. That question was by Alfonsine Nigena. It would be interesting to know where exactly you're writing from, but it has been quite insightful listening to your experiences on the ground and how you've overcome the challenges that have come up in your journey as a journalist. Now, one quick question that was running through my mind was, what is one lesson that you would like to leave our viewers with, that you have learned on your journey from a citizen journalist to now a freelance pro journalist? What is that one lesson that you can leave our viewers with, even though the conversation will continue later on the app?
I'm sorry, your voice echo, but what I hear and understand.
Mamarha زبر دوم دی چې د سټیزن جرنالیزم نه پرمننت جرنالیزم ته جوړه شو، نو دې کې تاسو کوم یو داسې یو لیسن لرن چې موږ سره شیر کول غواړئ دې پروسس کې؟
ها دا دې پروسس کوم لیسن موږ هغه کړو. Yeah, your voice was echo, but thank you, Sitasi, for he explained me what was the question. Actually, during all this process which I was going through from a citizen journalist to a pro journalist, freelance journalist, so it's not easy to make a space in a field where you don't have any kind of we don't have the female, but you can be the you can make the road, and then the other female can be the can use that road like it was the lesson I learned that I was learning from my senior journalist that was female journalist, how they are encountering the problems of being a female journalist, as we face sometimes gender discrimination I was facing, but now I say that I don't face it because it's a power for me to be a female journalist. So I learned that making a space in a field where you don't have female is not easy, but with the passage of time, if you are committed and you are committed and you want to you are loyal and to your profession, then you can achieve it. Nothing is impossible if you.
Nothing
Okay.
is impossible if you are committed. That is definitely a good point where we come to the end of today's forum. Thank you so, so much to all our panelists. And I just want to acknowledge that even though the conversation with Patience Landford fell through because of technological reasons, the conversation is still happening on the app. So please do not hesitate to ask any questions to Action Aid, to our dear panelists here, and thank you to each and every person who has asked a question today and just tuned in and to listen to this insightful discussion. So tomorrow we will travel to Latin America. Now, Latin America is currently experiencing the largest exodus in recent history, as almost 5 million refugees and migrants have left Venezuela.
Well, this is not only affecting those who are leaving their homes, but also the communities who become their host. We will be joined by Luz Meli, a Venezuelan journalist, and Magnus Kosman, DW Akademie's project manager in Quito, Ecuador. The topic will be, how can journalists build bridges, I should say, to host communities? So, sounds deep. If you want it to be broken down and to really understand what this is all about, then definitely you want to make a date with us tomorrow, day 5, which will wrap up the week. Wanjiku, exciting to look forward to it, huh?
That's right. Thank you very much for your participation. It's been a pleasure. My name is Wanjiku Mwaura.
And I am Eddie Micah Jr., who'll be with you again on day 5. Until then, it's bye for now.
Goodbye.